Hello and welcome to Stitching Stories episode 4. I'm so excited to be back with you. My name is Angela Damond, and if you're new to this vlog and you're watching it for the first time, I do a lot of hand sewing, I write patterns, I make up kits for people to stitch, I do lots of dyeing, and I do some knitting as well. The knitting I do is really my relaxing thing, if you like. So this is my platform where I'm going to share with you what I've been stitching and what I've been knitting. Now, I think the last time I filmed one was back in June, and I had every intention of coming back in August to show you what I've been up to, but things got a little bit busy with preparations for shows starting and things like that. One of the things I did do in July, at the very end of July, just before Festival of Quilts, is that I went catamaran sailing on Lake Windermere. And if you are not from the UK, Lake Windermere is part of an area called the Lake District in northwest England, and it has got it's famed for lots and lots of lakes and mountains, and it's such a beautiful part of the country. So I decided I'd pop the footage that I took in at the very end of this vlog. So right at the very end you will just see how peaceful it was, and we were incredibly blessed with such a beautiful sunny day. In fact, I remember on the day we all had our waterproofs on, and we were given even more waterproofs because it was raining, and then we drove for I think about 30 minutes down to Lake Windermere, and the sun came out, we took our waterproofs off, and we had such a lovely day. The other thing that's happened is that I did Festival of Quilts, which is the big quilt show at the NEC in Birmingham, England. And obviously in 2020 there wasn't one, so this was the first show in 2 years, and the organisers did an incredibly good job of putting the show on, and all the NEC staff were incredibly good as well, and it felt very safe because they'd got wider aisles, virtually everybody had masks on, and it felt really good to be back doing something that was a little bit normal, and actually really good seeing people, seeing lots of you as well, because for so long we haven't had that face-to-face contact, and it was so nice to see that. I had every intention of filming at Festival of Quilts, filming the quilts, filming the NEC, filming, just to show you what it's like if you've never been to the show. But actually I got so busy with my teaching, with the stand, with saying hello to people, that I didn't do any of that. So in a few weeks it is Alexandra Palace, the knitting and stitching show, so I'm going to try much better at that one. What I have done though is I'm going to pop some photos in now of the stand before, during the setup and afterwards, just to sort of show you what can happen to this blank space over the course of a few hours. So that showed you the stand we had, from getting there and it being an empty space to being full of all the kits and all the books, to being taken apart again, to being back to the empty stand. And it always intrigues me, and I think of it like a circus, that everybody rolls in, sets up their stands, has 4 days of really wonderful enjoyment of meeting people. I love the teaching element of it, and then on the Sunday everybody packs down and there's no trace at all of the show until next year. In 3 weeks we have Alexandra Palace, the knitting and stitching show, and of all the 3 knit and stitch shows, I think this is one of my favourites, because this is a show I used to go to 25 years ago when I lived in London, and I think I'm right in saying that the show is actually 30 years old this year. And I'm not teaching as much as in previous years, so I'm really hoping that I'm going to get some footage for you of the show, of some of the textile galleries, and of the venue as well, because if you've never been to Alexandra Palace in London, it sits on the top of a really tall hill, on a really big hill. And if you're lucky enough, you can see right over into central London. So you see buildings like the Shard, like the Gherkin, like Canary Wharf. And sometimes, you know, if you get there and it's twilight and you can just see the city of London twinkling. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get lots of footage to share with you, because it's my intention to get footage and then maybe do a separate vlog just around the show, really. So I have been I've had lots of stitching, and I have got some knitting to show you. A lot of the stitching I have been doing has been around my journal number 3. And again, I kind of call that Stitching Stories as well, because it's part of my story. And I wanted to make projects for people with a range of techniques that could be done and enjoyed, and pretty quick projects, really. So issue 3 has literally just gone to the printers, and hopefully we'll be back in time for the show, fingers crossed. And there's lots of things in there that I like to stitch. And one of the things I've been doing is some wool applique. And I wanted to show people in that, and I want to share with you that if you have one pattern, you don't have to have one technique. You can use that pattern for multiple different things. So I've got one just here, if I can pick it up. This is the front cover. So this little Dala horse is on the front cover in its frame. And you can see that I have used the whip running stitch and back stitch and some French knots here. So that's stitched with white thread onto red cotton, but you can use that same pattern to make a wool applique one. So if I hold them up like that, you can see it's exactly the same pattern. And in fact, if I put it on there, it doesn't look like it, but it's kind of the same size. So with this one, I just cut out my paper pattern and just appliqued this together, and just used a little bit of running stitch, but mainly blanket stitch to sew around this. So if you have a pattern from one of my kits or from one of my books, remember that you can use it for counselor, but you can use it for red work, you can use it for freehand embroidery, you could use it for quilting potentially, you can make an applique pattern from it. You know, there's so much you can get out of that one pattern. I talk in there about wool pennies as well, because as a child I was brought up in Lancashire, and they were all the woolen mills. And this is one of the projects as well in there, this toadstool. It's called a wool penny rug, but in actual fact it's like a mat. But it's these ones here, this is what's referred to as a wool penny. So if you have a look at it, the larger one, the green one, this is about 1 inch, something like that, and this one is about 3/4 of an inch. And they are blanket stitched together. And those of you who know me really well will know me because of cantha work. And cantha work, of course, originated in India about 500 years ago, and it was a thrift craft. And it was made because it used up silk saris. So the original cantha work was done on silk saris. But of course that's in India, and in certain parts of the world they didn't have silk, they had wool left over from the wool mills, from clothing. So to use up that wool and to make it go further, people would make wool pennies like this. And they would use, certainly here in the UK, they would use the old pennies to cut their circles around. So they do it freehand because they weren't bothered about an odd wonky circle or 6. And I think sometimes when I've spoken to people about wool pennies, people like die cutters. They like that exact circle with the exact circumference and diameter. But actually, if it's a little bit wonky, nobody notices because it's got a life. And sometimes if you are using recycled clothing or wool that's been on a jacket or a coat, sometimes those fibres might have been stretched a little bit, but they're all good for it. And in fact, if you see, or if you Google wool pennies from, you know, wool penny examples, you'll see that often they are dark because a lot of the fabric were dark fabrics used for men's suiting or things like that. But it's a really nice quick project, and it's certainly for me an alternative to that running stitch. So I was really pleased with this. So if you like wool applique, you like working with felt. This would work with felt. This project is in the next journal coming out for you. Now, often I find that I have to work 12 to 18 months in advance for books and things like that. So one of the things I have been doing is working with 80 wonderful ladies this year, doing a block of the month. So these 80 ladies have been fantastic in that every month they get a bird kit sent out to them, and we've stitched so many different birds. And these birds are all going to be in a book coming out early next year, plus some extra ones as well. So I wanted to show you what I've been stitching on. I don't want to share everything in the book, and this was the bird that those ladies started back in January, and I can't believe that was actually nearly 10 months ago now. So, and it's actually a blue tip. So if I hold that up for you, I think you can just see this little blue tip was done with Perlé 12 thread, and I'm going to include a close-up photo here to show you. So that was him stitched with Perlé 12 thread, and Perlé 12 thread is just a thread that's used as a single strand as it comes off the ball or the bobbin, something like that. But of course you can always size it up and use a thicker thread. Now, when I started this next one I'm going to show you, it was literally for demonstration purposes, and often my demonstration purposes never have an intention to be finished. They just sit as demonstration purposes for, I don't know, years and years until I have a sort out, and then I might recycle them to the charity shop or give them to friends I think might finish them. But I started this one. This is like a super-sized one. Look, he's huge. And I did this for demonstration, and I did it for demonstration in Perlé 8 thread, and I did him bigger so you could really easily see the techniques that I was doing. You can see where the white area was, you can see the mustardy, the green and the mustard yellow here. And then because I liked it, I thought, oh, I'm going to finish this. But I don't know if you can see, I have got here about 1/2 inch between his head and the top of the fabric, and it's not ever so straight either. There's a similar amount here, look, for the tail. So I want to turn this into something, and I think if it goes into a frame, I'm going to have to maybe put some fabric on the top, but I think it might go onto a pouch or something, I'm not sure, but I want to finish it anyway and put it into something. So just goes to show that sometimes if you want to make something, you do just have to give it a little bit of thought. I didn't, I just jumped straight in because I knew I wanted a demonstration piece. So this book I'm talking about now, the bird book, is due out in early 2022, which we're just starting to work on now. And I'm also working on the first journal for spring 2022 as well, but that won't be out until the April time. So there's quite a lot, and I am endeavouring to become even more organised than I already am. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm starting to do some bullet journaling, and I'm trying to capture projects that I've had on the go for a long time as well. So if that's something you're interested in, looking at how I document my projects that have been on the go forever, it seems, I don't often have time to do, then do let me know, because I thought if I make a list of them all, then it doesn't matter if I just do a little bit on one or a little bit of the other, then I will slowly chip away at them. Often they have come from workshops that I've taught, and because I've stopped teaching that workshop, I still have the sample. So I still might have an almost finished quilt that I want to finish. So they're all works in progress and they all had a purpose, but some of them I do actually want to get on and finish now. So that's pretty much all the sewing that I've been doing. I have been stitching more birds, but I can't show you them at the moment, and I hate to say that really. But because of all the sewing I've been doing, I haven't really been doing that much knitting either. I did finish my habitation throw, and I'll show you a photograph now of mine alongside my friend Jackie's, who is at Jackie Quilter on Instagram. As you can see, her one has been washed and blocked, and I haven't done that with mine yet, which is why hers is looking slightly bigger than mine. But I've got it down here, if I can just get it. It was done with the Advent yarn from Lucy Locketland last year, and her theme was actually birds as well. So I started this because I knew that I was starting the bird block of the month stitching as well. So I just get it out, and it's so soft and the yarn is so lovely. And what I liked about this, and it's the first time I've done this, is it had an I-cord edge. I don't know if you can just about see that. And I really like that, and I think it's something that I'm going to be using on other projects as well. And one thing I liked about this habitation shawl, habitation throw, and it is a paid for pattern on Ravelry, but I can't remember who wrote it, but I'll put it down below here because I just can't remember, but it is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. But you start very small with a few stitches here, and then you just almost knit a triangle, so it gets bigger and bigger until you get to this point here. So if I just try and hold it up, I'm too close to the camera. So you increase and you increase until you almost make a triangle, and then you start to decrease again until you end up with a shorter bit here again. Now, I was being really careful and I was measuring, and it was supposed to be for 24 minis, which I had. But this is where I started, and Jackie and I decided that we wanted to start and finish in the same colour. So we split this. So we have this, these are all 10 grams, but this one we split to 5 grams. So I started here with 5 grams, but then when I got to the other end, you can see it's much smaller. Let me see if I can, you can see it on the photograph, but can you see that this is how I started? And that was where I finished, so I didn't need much at all on this end. So I'm going to donate some of this yarn to Jackie for her gnomes that she's knitting. But I really enjoyed it. It's really light, so I'm thinking it's going to be an ideal travel blanket for the car or something like that. And I thought if I took it to the shows with me, particularly Harrogate that's in November, I could always, I figure this out, I could always actually, because it's so lovely and light, it would also kind of work as a sort of oversized shawl as well. I've not put it on very well. So I could have it over my knees in Fella Harrogate show when it's November, or I could wear it around my neck if I wanted to. So I think it's going to actually have a variety of uses and going to be really, really useful. But I really did enjoy it, and in fact I enjoyed it so much that I've signed up for the Advent calendar for this year as well, which I think is a garden flowers, so I'm looking forward to that one. So I finished this, and I think that's when my knitting stopped for the past two months or so, because everything I've been stitching has been to finish the journal and has been to finish the bird book as well. And as I say, that's expected out early 2022. I think there's going to be 20 garden birds in there. I can't quite remember. I think it's 20. And I did wonder about doing one of these short vlogs on the process of writing a book, of the stages. I just wondered if that's something that you would be interested in. So if it is, just leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. I don't think it's going to take me as much time to do another episode as before, or at least I hope not. So hopefully I will see you in October. So take care. If you have any questions, just pop them below. It's so lovely to get your comments and your any questions, and yeah, just let me know if you have anything you want to know. So take care, and I will see you next month. you.